Alright, so in today's video I'm going to show you how I made these miniature shuffleboards. So in this video I'm going to show you how I made these two shuffleboard tables. They're a little bit different. Each one's a little bit different. This one's a little bit deeper, thicker piece on it than this one here. But other than that, they're pretty close to the same. So let's see the procedure, and I'll give you a wrap up at the end. Okay, so I'm at the point on this shuffleboard that I want to add a little bit of color to it. I made my grooves here, my little dados, 1/8 inch wide dados. I could probably fill them in with some darker wood. I drilled all my holes over there on a drill press, and basically I just lined up one side of them, and then once I got the stop block, I was able to drill out this hole on all four, then drill out the next hole on all four once you get it set up. Unfortunately, I just may have erased that, so you may not have privy to that video. But so I set up a little bit here so you don't have to watch me do all the boring stuff. This blue tape across here is just sort of dams to prevent the colors from, spreading out in case I get a little bit too much on there going over into the other area. Certain areas I have in here, I added actually some clear. As a matter of fact, I might add a little bit more clear in this one here. Just because I have tiny gaps in there and I want to fill them. And while my finish may do that job, I figure I have the epoxy here, I might as well just do the resin here. So this blue tape is to separate these areas because they're each going to be a different color. I'm going to do yellow in the first area, blue in the next area, and reddish purple in the last area here. Along the side, I don't know if you can see this, but I have some clear packing tape that I laid across here. It has about a 1/4 inch dam across above it, and then it's folded underneath, about a 1/4 inch underneath, so that if anything does drip down, it gets caught in that fold there. And that's pretty much it. So I've mixed my colors up. So I'm gonna go ahead and start pouring those and get the color into the different areas here. And the nice thing about this is that this is all going to be sanded smooth, so it's not going to be an issue. And that's the nice thing about using epoxy too, as opposed to using wood, is that wood you'd have to get right and then make sure that you fill in all the gaps and that you have enough in there. And the resin epoxy, that is you just got to make sure that you fill it in enough so that there's a little bit of a bulge, which is what I have here. And Like I said, I have space here to have a little bit of overflow, but not a lot. And I don't want to put too much down on it. And I have a little bit of clear resin left over just so in case I have to mix up anything to add to any of the colors. If I don't have enough of one color, I can always mix up some more. Okay. And the main thing here is, of course, you know, with me talking, and you guys have seen me talk before and how I goof up when I talk, is just not to pour the wrong one in the wrong area. So that's why I'm trying to start out at the bottom here. And then work my way across, up. Okay. So I got a little bit more there than I probably need. Try to get some of that back in here. Now the other thing too is I do have some little throwaway eyedroppers that I probably could use for this, which would probably make it a little easier and safer in pouring. But they do take some time. And I think I can get it here with this. So I think the color is going to add to it quite a bit. And the other thing too is try and get the board down as level as possible. Now, I'm not so sure. My bench is on the wheels, so I'm not so sure how level that is. So I have to check on it every once in a while to make sure that you know, everything stays in the same general area. Ooh, got a little crazy on that one, John. Let's get some of that in these holes here. Now, if you watched the video up to this point, you know that I surfaced the boards and I got them down close to the thickness that I want. Now I have one board here. This board, I think the one I'm working on now, is a little thicker than the other board. And I got to be a little careful here and not use so much. But I don't think that these boards need to be as thick as they are. I've sort of modified a wood plan, Wood Magazine. I modified their plans a little bit. But, you know, it's nice having the nice thick board, but I think all you're really doing is adding weight. And the idea of this thing is to make a small one so that it's fun. So anyway, I'll stop talking and go ahead and pour out the rest of this here. And I see I missed the yellow here, so I'm going to have to come back and do that one. Okay, so I pretty much got everything laid out, all my colors in. And all I'm going to do now for the next few minutes is look through. The nice thing about using clear tape on the side is you can see if it starts leaking down on any of the sides here. And so far it all looks pretty good. Also the resin, even though, you know, it's been my experience, I don't know if this is true or not, but it's been my experience where the resin does soak into the wood a little bit. So like when you make your first pour, you'll end up with the resin going a little bit low. And that's why I put these little dams in between each of them so I can go a little above. Now, you know, the advantage here is that I still have my finish sanding to do. And when I do that, I can go a little bit lower. So if one of them happens to sink down a little bit too much, I can just sand it down a little bit more. But my hope is not to have to do that. Okay, so it all looks good. I have a fair amount of epoxy resin in each one of the spots there. And it has a little bit of a bulge, so even if it soaks in some, I should be good. And like I said, but even if it shrinks down below, I'll be okay. I can always surface down these faces a little bit more in the sander. So now it's just a matter of letting it sit overnight, and we'll check them out tomorrow morning when they're all cured and ready to go. Okay, so let me update you as to where I'm at so far. I did all the sanding off camera. I didn't think you'd really want to see that, but I did show you that I used a 1/2 inch radius here on these pieces and then just sanded that down to make them round to match the radius on these end pieces here. These pieces here, the top pieces that are going to go on my little trim that's going to go across the top here and trim this all up, they need to be still finish sanded. These are all finish sanded, but I need to finish sand these, so I'm going to run these through the sander to get rid of these black marks here from the saw. But other than that, yeah, I'm going to get ready to glue the sides down to the base piece there. This piece still comes off. Now this is an unfinished one. I still got a little bit of finish sanding. It's been through the drum sander, and so it's sanded flat and smooth. But I actually experimented with the finish on this one here, and I used, it ended up being a lacquer on top, just spray lacquer. And I like the way that it is, but I think I'll get a little smoother finish. I'm going to use some wipe-on varnish, I think, is what I'll use on that one. On this one here, just to try that out. So I'll have one of each and I can see which one I like better. But yeah, so just got some more finish sanding to do on this. Attach these down onto the base and then sand these pieces and assemble them. So that's what I'm gonna head out to do right now and get this thing done today. All right, so as you see, the construction is not all that difficult on these. It's just a matter of making sure that all these miters are cut well and fit together well. I'm gonna give you one little hint that I found out about when I was doing mine, is that you glue I glue this top piece on. Now I made these side pieces, glued them together first, then placed them down, and then I placed these top pieces on. Now the first one, I did 3 of them and I left the one off, and I found that didn't quite set up as well as it should have. So the next one, the second one I did, I actually clamped all of them down all the way around and then unclamped and started gluing them together, and then just unclamped that, glued that, unclamped this, glued this, unclamped that, glued that. And I found that put them together better and squared them up onto the side pieces. The other tip that I would give you is that underneath here, you want to sand off the edges so that they're not sharp. And you want to get this edge down here. I recommend that you do that before you glue them down. It's kind of difficult to sand it. It's not impossible, but it's just difficult to sand it afterwards. So I think if you just break down these edges on the bottom of these top pieces here before you glue them on, that's going to make life much, much easier for you. Again, these were plans out of Wood Magazine. Like I said, I modified them a little bit. I changed, this was supposed to be dark wood for the holes, the dark wood dowels. They were walnut, I believe, and then walnut pieces slide in here. On mine, I decided to use resin so I can get different colors in here and just add some color to the overall look, because it's pretty white. Now, as far as the finishing goes, this particular one here I already finished, and I wanted to try out a lacquer finish. And while I like the way the finish come out, I'm not sure that that's what I want to end up with. Now, the outside ones that I already planned, these frames, I planned on using a wipe-on varnish, and that's what I'm going to use. And I think I'm going to use a wipe-on varnish on this just to see which one I like better. But I will actually do a separate video on using wipe-on varnish, so you can watch how I finish these up. But hopefully, if you like these, please do subscribe to the channel and give me a like down there. If you don't like it, let me know what you thought I did wrong or what I'm not explaining completely. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions, and I do appreciate the feedback. So, other than that, hope you can subscribe and watch the next video that comes out, because I will have some more stuff coming out very soon. Thanks for watching this one.